Just getting up, what you doing?
He's going to get the guy.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, chainsaw is another rural parish.
Young guy too, look at him.
Yeah, but let me know.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
How you doing?
All right.
Good, good. The committee on parole is called to order. And sir, before you leave out, we are gonna want to hear from the staff as to how he's
No,
been doing.
I'm not going nowhere.
Okay, good, good.
I'm
Okay,
not going nowhere.
okay, good, good. Good afternoon, sir. Give us your name and DOC number.
James Francis Wolfe Jr., DOC number 636197, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wood. My name is Pearl Wise. To my left is Mr. Marabella, and to my right is Mr. Roche. We comprise your panel. Let me explain the process to you. I'm going to read some information into the record. Afterwards, we're going to conduct the interview with you, starting with Mr. Marabella. After we complete our interview, we're going to ask the staff there to give us an update on how you've been doing. And then you have no visitors, so we won't have that part. After all the testimony has been received, we'll give you an opportunity to make a statement. Let us know what you want us to know before we vote. And do you understand the process?
Yes, ma'am.
And let me read this information in the record. James Francis Wolfe Jr., you're listed as a third offender. Your all offenses: driving while intoxicated, third offense; operating a vehicle while intoxicated, fourth offense. You have multiple sentencing dates of April the 27th of 2015, revoked on June 30th of 2017, and April the 12th of 2018. And then you were sentenced on September the 17th of 2018. Your parole eligibility date is listed as April the 5th of 2021. You have an adjusted good time date of January the 23rd of 2024. And your full term date is April the 6th of 2030. Does that sound about right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Wood, would you please, how old are you, sir?
I'm 39 years of age, sir.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
Since April of 2018.
And so what is that, almost 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
How many times have you been in prison?
For a felony or for misdemeanor, sir?
Let's talk about felonies first.
Just twice.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about why you're in prison. do you
I'm an
think-
alcoholic.
Huh?
And I'm an alcoholic.
Okay, and so let's talk about, when did you start drinking?
The first time I had an intoxicating beverage was in high school.
When did you start drinking?
Beer, sir.
About how old were you?
14, 15.
What did you progress to from there? Did you do drugs as well?
Yes, sir.
What kind of drugs did you do?
Marijuana.
Anything that's beyond that?
I think I've tried ecstasy.
Okay, what else?
Multiple other drugs as well.
Cocaine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How often were you, after you started drinking, when did you realize you were an alcoholic?
I decided I was an alcoholic when I threw up and went back to drinking alcohol. I had an experience where I consumed blueberries and got sick thereafter. And my mind associated being sick with eating fresh blueberries. So from then on, I never ate fresh blueberries. But
Give me a year. How old were you?
I would say my alcoholic drinking probably 18, 19.
So at 18 years old, you ate some blueberries and you threw up, and you figured fresh fruit caused your throwing up. Were you drinking at the time as well?
No, sir. I was trying to give you an example of why I believe I'm an alcoholic. I didn't consume the blueberries at 19. That was at an earlier age. What I'm telling you is when I did consume the blueberries and regurgitated, I never wanted to eat blueberries again. However, when I got sick from drinking alcohol, I continued to drink even though I felt sick, and that's what maybe led me to believe later on, years
Tell me
later.
what that was.
Like when I got sick from the alcohol, I didn't want to stop drinking it, but I did so with the blueberries.
How old were you then?
Consuming the alcohol or eating blueberries.
I'm not worried about the blueberries. I misunderstood your blueberry story. When did you get sick on alcohol and realize you were an alcoholic and kept drinking?
From probably
Good start.
from about 16, I started binge drinking.
And how often would you drink?
It seemed to be like a weekend thing. When I can acquire it, at that age, I wasn't legal to actually purchase alcohol, but trying to be resourceful or trying to find other people who are old enough to purchase it, like through like Hey Misters or having friends of my peers who worked at gas stations.
How often do you drink alcohol when you're out of prison now?
At one point, it was almost daily, every day.
And what,
About a pint and a
and
half.
what were you drinking?
I graduated to a bottom shelf Heavenly Hill, about a pint and a half a day.
What about just continue using drugs as well?
No, sir. Actually, I decided that I didn't want to get arrested for trying to obtain illicit substances. I didn't want to be arrested for possession of illicit substances and or smuggling or whatnot. So in my mind, I still wanted to get drunk or escape, and I felt as though being that alcohol was legal, I wouldn't get in as much trouble. However, I got behind the wheel multiple times, and I'm still incarcerated behind drinking. So it wasn't a safer alternative.
How many times have you had treatment on the outside?
Multiple times, sir. I'm probably would be deemed as a chronic relapser. I've had multiple treatments. I've been writing for treatment while incarcerated. Earlier on, I was trying to obtain the ability to be in a therapeutic community. I was told with the write-ups that I was getting write-ups, but I was told that I had to be a year out from being able to attend the RSAT program, which is in Concordia.
Let's slow down again. Let's just continue talking about you on the outside.
Yes, sir.
How many times have you had DWI?
I'm sorry, you repeat the question?
How many DWIs have you had? I show at least 6. How many have you had?
I've only had 4. I don't 6. That's strange. Only 4 DWIs, sir.
Well, your last DWI was a 4th offense, but you've been arrested for at least 5 or 6 times. Well, perhaps other alcohol-related offenses. How are we going to get you to stop drinking?
I think before I've always had reservations. I've had conversations with people who have no desire to quit drinking. I can honestly say that it feels pretty good waking up, not feeling sick, hugging the toilet, so to speak. Feeling hydrated. I've been trying to find other things to occupy my mind and to move in a positive direction.
Well,
some days are harder than others.
You went to prison on your 3rd offense DWI. You went through Steve Hoyle, right?
That's correct.
And did that help you at all?
Being in a therapeutic community, I believe so. But I had reservations.
What are your reservations, or what were your reservations?
I didn't have a desire to quit. Other people had desire for me to quit.
So when did you get the desire to quit?
I realized that I don't always go to prison, but when I go to prison, it become apparent that it's because I'm usually intoxicated. So instead, I figured out. I mean, in order to stop going to prison, I got to stop what it is that's putting me in prison.
And do you think that's sufficient to stop you from drinking?
I don't think that's the only thing that's going to help prevent me. I think I need to get back to being plugged into like programs or hanging out with positive influences.
Have you ever gone to AA meetings?
I was attending them. Yes, sir. I have. I've been working on in my AA book since I've been here. I kind of converted my AA book that I obtained into somewhat like a celebrate recovery. It makes sense to me. I know if other old AA members were to read it, they may or may not like the information because they don't always recognize non-AA literature. But for purposes for me, what works for me may not work for someone else. And I know while I was working diligently in the book itself and doing what it was I was doing, it was keeping me sober.
How far did you go in school?
I'm a high school graduate. And I'm also a military veteran. I've taken some extras of schooling to learn a military occupational specialty, along
What branch
with schooling for that military occupational specialty.
What branch of the military were you in?
I was in the Army, sir.
How long were you there?
2.5 years. Long enough to serve my country in theater and make it back.
Were you drinking then?
When I got back, yes.
Were you drinking while you were in the military?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
You got out from your third offense DWI on parole in March of 2018. You got arrested on April the 12th, 2018. Graduated Steve Hoyle in March of 2018. Within a month of leaving Steve Hoyle, you're back on the road, drunk again. Why? What happened? You were required to intoxilizer? Where was the intoxilizer?
Oh, I no longer needed the intoxilizer. That was the charge, but I had completed the requirements of the intoxilizer. Like I didn't no longer need it. Was no longer needed to be in my vehicle. It was actually I was on my way to return the intoxilizer. However, it was present in the vehicle when I was charged, so it was presumed that it was supposed to be intact into the vehicle.
You were on your way to return the intoxilizer drunk?
No, I didn't have intents to turn it in drunk. However, I completed the requirement to no longer have to have the intoxilizer in the vehicle.
I thought you just said I was on my way to return the intoxilizer.
That is true, but not at that time of night. The place that I got the intoxilizer from is in a different city. The people but they have multiple locations, but they said the place that I had to bring the intoxilizer back is to the people I rented it from. But there was another location where they said that they could take it off of the vehicle. So I made the payment for them to take it off the vehicle, which was in Covington, but I rented the device, which was on the West Bank in Harvey or Gretna out that way. It didn't. So the device didn't belong to the people in Covington or at the mechanic shop where I had to go get it taken off, but I had to return it to the place in the West Bank. But it happened to fall on a day where I had to wait to a business day.
I misunderstood you. I thought you said you were on your way to return it at the time. But okay, I'll accept that. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about where you're going to live out and what you're going to do when you get out. Where are you gonna live at?
I was told I can go back to my mother's home. That's the address that I have on file, which is in Slidell. I don't remember the address. It's been a while. Really, the only address that I've been able to remember is my daughter's, and she lives out of state. But that's not the address I'm going to. But I do intend to go to my mother's address, where I had paroled out last time.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 15.
And where is she living?
She lives in Michigan.
With her mother?
Yes, sir, and stepfather.
What kind of work do you do?
I was disabled. I received a disability through the VA. For substance, I have a substance abuse disorder. I also have I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I was receiving an income through that. I was also in Veterans Court. I don't know if it says that in the paperwork or not. However, since I've been incarcerated, I managed to make it to work release, and I've worked as a dishwasher. Before I enlisted into the Army, I worked at Popeyes and did multiple jobs at Popeyes. I worked as a food prep for my father when he opened up a restaurant for a guy he was in business that he was working for. So I kind of like learned some of the ins and outs of being a food prep, and I knew how to be a dishwasher. I know that's what I ended up doing while I was at East Baton Rouge work release. Was a dishwasher.
You've lost 810 days of good time. Why?
Not wanting to conform to the rules and regulations of DOC. Pure defiance.
Most of them were for intoxication. What were you intoxicated?
I believe it to be mojo, or the chemical, synthetic marijuana, sir.
You take any sort of medication?
As of right now, no.
Were you taking medication when you came in? Or have you taken medication in the past for your PTSD or anything else?
Yes, sir. Risperidone, Prazosin, Zoloft. I used to be prescribed Seroquel, but I was having problems with it. I told them I didn't tell them. They suggested I be on risperidone. I started taking it, but I stopped wanting to take the risperidone because I started fearing about gynecomastia. So I just decided to stop taking it.
When did you quit taking your other medications?
Certain facilities won't allow me to take the medication. Or
Were
they
you
want
taking outside?
yes, sir. I took it. I was getting it regularly and taking it outside. But when I started to be when I became institutionalized, based on what facility I was at, their psychiatrists said that they would allow you to take certain medications based on the facility you were at.
While you were out, you were taking those medications and still drinking basically every day.
No, actually, I got to a point where I wasn't drinking every day. But I was drinking more occasionally, but not every day. But enough to get me incarcerated again.
You were in Veterans Court at some point?
Yes, sir.
What were they doing for you in Veterans Court? Were you going to counseling? Were you going to a psychiatrist? Were you going to some sort of mental health person? Tell me what you were doing while you were in Veterans Court.
Well, while I was in Veterans Court, I had linked up with the VA, and I was seeing a psychiatrist in New Orleans. I was driving out there to see him. Another thing I enjoyed about Veterans Court is there was a representative that I got to work with, and he would sit in on like in with a congressman or something. But he would keep me posted or updated on like my rights or certain things. One of the information he was telling me I didn't have to pay child support because of some kind of situation. but I still was trying to pay child support. I had turned in my paperwork to the DA in Covington.
How is it that you left Veterans?
Excuse me?
How is it that you left Veterans Court?
I was incarcerated.
For this charge?
No, actually, while I was in Veterans Court, they suggested I was trying to get into a program, but the program I was wanting to go to was in Michigan, and the VA was going to set that up and allow me to attend it. I think either they just didn't want me to go, and or DOC or whoever decided that, look, we got a program that's in state, and he'll be incarcerated, so he won't be a flight risk. I had no intentions of being a flight risk.
What time you were in Veterans Court? You were in prison. You went to prison in 2017, right?
That's correct.
That's for the third offense DWI. When is Veterans Court in that time? Before or after?
On a third offense, I was already out on parole, and in Veterans Court.
Okay, so you were in Veterans Court between the time you got out on parole and the time you got this fourth offense.
No, I was on the third offense out on parole, and I was doing a period of time, and I was having trouble while in Veterans Court, and they were like, look, we want you to go to a program. So I ended up having to like turn myself in, I guess, basically, and then they while incarcerated, it was judge ordered that I attend the Steve Hoyle program. So I was already out on parole, but turned myself in.
Well, that's I guess the confusing part. You got on your third offense DWI, you got out. It was suspended. You got 5 years, 4 years was suspended. So you were put on probation. You got revoked because you had violations. You got disturbing the peace by intoxication, failure to do your community service work, failure to complete your driving improvement program, and then you were returned, to supervision after you went to prison for a little while, right? And that's when you got out on parole. Is that what you're telling me? When were you in the Veterans Court and how long?
I was in the Veterans Court while on house arrest or the probation. I received I was on an ankle monitor.
All right.
I was doing home incarceration. While I was doing home incarceration, I ended up having trouble again, and they suggested I needed to be in a program. I contacted the VA and told them I wanted to attend a program. The doctor, Dr. V. Hill, suggested that he knew I was having problems with not being around my daughter and stuff, that maybe in Michigan I could have her come visit me while I was in the program. They felt like it wasn't a good idea for me to go to Michigan, and they told me I should turn myself in. And upon turning myself in back in to be incarcerated, I attended the Steve Hoyle program on the third DWI. When I completed the third DWI, the Steve Hoyle program on the third DWI, I was let back out on parole. So I was sentenced to house arrest, and then let on parole.
And once you got out, you went right back to drinking.
Yes, sir.
So what would you expect us to do today to help?
I had wrote earlier on. I didn't when I initially contacted the boards of pardons and parole, I didn't expect them to send me a letter back saying that I didn't meet the criteria to be up for parole. My initial thing wasn't for that. I wanted to meet the criteria, but when I initially contacted, I had suggested that if I was, I guess I wasn't specific. If I was to parole out, I wanted to be in some programs. I still had the intent of if I was to be paroled, to get into a program. I feel like I need something structured. All the other times, I wasted opportunities and the potential to do something different. I don't really have a whole lot of legs to stand on. I don't have a whole lot of credibility. I want to change all that, and in order to do that, I need to work on myself. I need to build up some more clean time, or I need something more structured to help keep me focused. And I think
the last time you used Mojo alcohol of any kind, any substance?
It's been a month.
I'm sorry?
It's been a month since the beginning of this year. I haven't used anything.
Okay. Beginning of this year, what did you use?
Oh, nothing. I haven't used anything since the first of this year.
Well, what about the end of last year? When was the last time you used
The end of last year. The end of last year.
2022?
That's correct. I had a 4-month span of being
slow
clean.
down. Answer my question. What did you use at the end of last year?
I smoked Mojo.
And how often were you smoking Mojo?
Just here and there when I could afford it.
All right, that's all the question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mambella. Any other questions? Okay. All right, Officer, what can you tell us about Mr. Wolfe?
He's been under the radar. He hadn't been causing any problems. He came in November of last year.
Okay, he hasn't been causing any problem. No write-up since he's been there.
Well, he hadn't been caught with that Mojo he said he smoked, so no.
Okay, all right. So what does he do every day? Does he have a job or what kind of dorm is he?
He in a regular dorm. He don't have a job.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Wolfe, we have no further questions. What would you like us to know before we vote?
I took it upon myself to purchase a book called Tapaku. I don't know if you're familiar with the curriculum. I actually worked on it on myself and really worked hard in it. I felt like I got something out of it. For as far as self-help, like I read like a parole hearing or application for a parole hearing. Also, I've been attending a Bible study run by inmates for inmates. I attend prayer call daily. Except I missed one day the other day. Had a falling out with one of the group leaders, but we worked that out. And I'm also actively doing a Bible correspondence course where I've been sending off the questionnaire and corresponding back and forth.
And now tell us for the record what that course that Tapuku means.
The only person you cheat is you.
Yeah, that's it. I just want you to say it. Sorry. The panel ready to vote?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Maribel, we'll be voting now.
Mr. Wolfe, I'm very concerned about you. Let me start out by saying I'd like to thank you for your service in the military. You seem to have some real issues. Alcohol, maybe PTSD. I'm not sure exactly what you went through, or what all your issues are. You seem to be a very intelligent man with a problem, with an alcohol and perhaps drug problem, and perhaps mental health. You seem to be a decent man with some issues. You're getting out of prison for very shortly. To be perfectly honest with you, if you had a longer time before you would good time out, I probably would recommend that you be denied and you take some other programs while you're there. But you're going to be getting out. So Roche had made some notes, and I concur in his notes. You're going to be getting out in 11 months. You're going to get out in January 2024, whether we do anything or not. I'm concerned not only about you, frankly, but I'm concerned about public safety. It's very fortunate that no one has been killed in some of your DWIs, things that you've done. What was the wreck about that you got into the traffic accident with the fellow who chased you down, I assume, or grabbed you when you were running. What happened? Did you hit somebody or?
No, they bumped into me.
Okay, all right.
They wrecked. But had I not been drinking, I wouldn't have been. Or had I not been on the wheel, I wouldn't have had the accident. They hit me. I didn't hit them. But I don't have any legs to stand on. I didn't have any credibility. And then they corroborated a story against me. But you're not interested in hearing any of that. I accept responsibility for being drunk behind the wheel. That's where I'm at fault.
And that's my concern. That's my concern.
I also no longer have a vehicle. I gave the vehicle to my brother. I no longer even plan on driving.
Well, just because you don't have a vehicle doesn't mean you won't get drunk and get behind the wheel of somebody else's car. That's a concern. I want to help you, Mr. Wolfe. We all want to help you. My vote today, based upon the problems that you've had, the intoxication write-ups that you've had, the fact that you continue to do mojo even a couple of months ago, and I appreciate your honesty. We wouldn't have known that. I recognize that as your honesty and wanting some help. My vote today would be to grant your parole conditionally upon your re-entering the full 9-month program at Steve Hoyle. Went there once, didn't take. I hope that you can go through that program again and get something out of it. Once you finish that program, assuming you can finish that program within the 9-month frame, my conditions would be that you go to 90 AA meetings in 90 days. Thereafter, 3 AA meetings per week. I want an interlock device on any vehicle that you have access to or that you drive for the duration of your, I don't know that you'll be able to drive. I don't know if you'll be able to get a driver's license, but if you are, there will be an interlock device. I also want you to be equipped with either a Scram bracelet or something similar to a Scram bracelet. Scram is a company name, but something that you will have on your person that will always be able to monitor your alcohol input. You are to follow all of the Steve Hoyle requirements. You are to submit to random drug and alcohol testing. And I also want you to follow up on your mental health evaluation. Follow up with the VA. See how they can work with you and how they can help you. Are you willing to do those things?
Yes, sir.
Good luck to you, Mr. Wolfe. You need some help. You're asking for help, and I hope you can get it. So good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Bell. Mr. Roche.
Mr. Wolfe, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I've listened intently, and you have an acute alcohol problem. You're a very intelligent man, and you want the help. You complete the 6-month Steve Hall program. This time we want you to complete the 9-month Steve Hall program in hopes that it will solve the situation. I agree with everything Mr. Marabella has said. I grant the 9-month Steve Hall program, and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Now, Mr. Wolfe, I too thank you for your service to our country. There's a thing that we have to ask sometime when a lot of things is going on. Who hurt you? Don't answer it out loud, but figure out who hurt you. And since that time, you've just been hurting yourself. I concur with my colleagues. My vote is to grant for the reasons already stated on the record. That's wishes to you, sir.
All right, thank you.
That concludes our business. Thank y'all at Tinsall for accommodating us today. We really appreciate you. You learned something too, didn't you? You learned something.
Yes, ma'am, sure did. All right, y'all have a blessing.
You too, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Who hurt you? That was profound. This case was really fascinating to me. Like he's such an anomaly. He's the first person we've ever seen that admitted to doing mojo while he's sitting there in jail, and they had no idea. It was like, oh man, I hope they don't write him up for that. There's and then I kept thinking, it looked like he was high at that very moment. His eyes were bulging, but I think it's a fake eye now. I've been staring at it and it's very unnatural. I think it's fake, which is, imagine being someone who has a drinking problem and you're getting pulled over all the time, but you just look like you're not sober. Even if he is sober, he's going to look not sober because he doesn't look sober. I mean, it was like a roller coaster of a hearing. The blueberries, and he is intelligent, and but I don't know. There's got to be something else going on. I mean, there's got to be some type of mental illness. Like that's just, he's not. I don't think you can chalk it up to just being nervous. Maybe it's like autistic, maybe it's something like that. But that must have been the most honest hearing we've ever had. And I also thought that he said he was driving to return the interlock device when he got the next DUI. He's drinking bottom shelf. He graduated to bottom shelf. Was it Heighton Hill? He said 1.5 pints a day. I don't always go to prison, but when I do, it's because I'm intoxicated. That was something he said. It's like I don't always drink beer, but when I do, it's to sake. It is a miracle that he hasn't hurt or killed anyone. And I see that they're terrified about, I'd be terrified about paroling him, right? Because you parole him, he gets in a car and kills someone, it's going to be on the news. And it's a big risk for the parole board. But what they offer to him, I think he's far too smart to take them up on it. He's getting out in like 11 months. They offered him a 9-month program because he's already done the 6-month program, but the 9-month program, that's going to solve it. No, it's not going to make a difference. You can see this. The guy's like, he wasn't even BSing it. He's like made up. He just said the book he's reading, and they asked him if he knew the answer right away. The AAs, and the guy knows he has a problem. He's trying to help himself, but there's so many unknowns. We just can't know. Was he, is this total post-military thing? Has this been this way his entire life? Well, he said he started drinking really early. That's what gets the whole blueberries thing. The analogy didn't make it. It's like I ate blueberries and that made me sick, so I never ate them again. But I drink and I'll get sick, but I'll still drink. And that's when he realized he had a problem. It was just such a, like how he got to that as his answer for when he knew that he was an alcoholic. So, I think that there's something else besides or in addition to trauma. I mean, let's be real. Yeah. So what was I saying? I lost track. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna. I mean, if if only if he wants to have all these crazy expenses in addition to like getting all these interlock devices and going to AA 3 times a week and all this forced stuff, he's just gonna wait out his time in jail, because what they're saying is go do a 9-month program and then you'll get parole. But he's getting out in 11 months, and the odds that of him, I don't really, but I think there's no way that 2-month gap of margin is gonna make sense for him to do it. Like, he might as well, like, he's smart enough to do the math. So I'd be really curious to know if he's like so desperate for help that he will actually go, because he might wait 2 months to get into this thing. So, I don't think you ever just get into a program. Everything's got to move so slowly. I bet you it takes a month just to do the paperwork. But he is going to get out, and he's going to go right back to drinking. It. And it's just terrifying. I mean, I don't know. There's no answer. I don't see it. I don't know what the answer is. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.